This thing seems like I'm already live, but I don't think so. No. Okay, so hopefully should be live soon. Hopefully these birds aren't too crazy. It's a little delay here. I must have forgot to press the button. I think I forgot to press the button. Nope, there we go. Or it's just a delay on my end. It's like a serious delay on my end. That's what it is. I have to fix that, guys. I'm trying to see to make sure that I'm live, but then y'all might catch some dead space at the very beginning. So, but I'd rather do that than it's not right and y'all can't hear me, that type of thing. So, just double checking. But okay, looks like we are live now. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy beginning of June. Today is June 3rd, and I think I forgot to change the date. I did forget to change the date on the video. But anyway, I am going to do that shortly. I would like to just say that for once, we don't have much Fed data next week. So, yay, we don't have any speakers. We don't have any serious, I think, data coming out that's going to really affect the market. Although the market has really honestly been shaking off most data that it's been getting. So um, I know we probably have the next interest rate decision that I think the market is kind of waiting for or anticipating. It's anticipating a pause. So that's why we've been basically doing well. You see here that VIX has broken through this broadening formation that we drew here on the monthly so far. So we got a 3 up, 2 down reversal, and it's sitting at its basically its target. We know that this is a pretty strong support here, but we know that if it does break down, it can still see 1433, 1338, and then even 1176. If I go ahead and move this, since we did break through, yeah, next little line is about 14. So we know it can still keep going down. It's interesting if you look at it on the quarter. Again, this is a pretty strong support, but it can still come down all the way to $12 on the quarter. So that's crazy. I mean, this is almost a 3 black crows, I think they call it, is the pattern. But it's not to say that it can't still continue to fall, especially if the market is going to continue to the upside. Everything is showing you that VIX is still in this downtrend. So that's how it's looking for the month so far. Basically, for the week, did the 2 up, 2 down reversal. And you saw the green in the indices begin. You saw the weakness here. So that is the VIX, still well below its 200 on the daily and still in this downtrend. So it's a little far away from the EMA, so we may see some corrective activity in the markets. And even to do that, it closed like very close to its low of the day. So it would have to reverse a lot and reverse above 1561 for it to do a 2 up, 2 down, 2 up on the day. And then it could correct up here to this 8 or even this 20, and then before it rejects, because y'all see that's the pattern of what it does. It falls, comes back up and tests this, and then falls again. So it's falling pretty far away. It may come test this first, but if not, it could reverse up, come and test this, and then make an H to come down. So we're still seeing bearishness in the VIX. The Dow, not the Dow, the dollar had a good month last month. It finally broke a little bit of this downtrend that it's been in, but not the overall downtrend. And you can still see where we are in terms of the monthly Broadman formations that we've been watching. We're still kind of in the middle, but we were down here. So it has recovered, and we can look to see if it comes up here and tests this. So there's no actionable signal here on the week or anything like that, but I mean on the month or even on the week. But you do see that it's broken above its 200 and held on the weekly. So that's good. As far as it on the daily, which is something we watch, it broke above, washed below, and then closed above. So now you just want to watch to see if it's going to repeat this pattern right here where it broke above, made a head and shoulders, and then fell, or if it's going to break above, make a base here, and actually go up towards the top of this broadneck formation. So that's what we would be looking for with the dollar. And also looking at it on the monthly, that it's had a couple of corrective months, that green month. So it's actually above all of these EMAs. It had some bearish activity, but it still closed above them. So keep an eye on that. So we know the NASDAQ and tech have been booming for the most part. We had a broadening formation here that this was at. It rejected at, but then it broke above and closed above. So I went ahead and removed it and just put the next one that we will be targeting to the upside. So we know that is just a 2-2 continuation, but what we are looking is to take out this 15,135, and then these folks here at this 15,280. And then if we continue, we could probably target these all-time highs at this 16,773. But keep in mind, we've had basically, this will be the fourth month of just bullish activity. Although if you think about it, we did have this run, base, and then run. So this could be a base for another run onto the upside. So, I did forget to say that we have a new 2-week bar starting. So we're just going to look at them to see if any of them have actionable signals. A lot of them don't, because a lot of them just look like this, just strong two up continuations. But we're just going to be aware that we do have a new 2-week bar starting. So it did end as a nice hammer. So again, if it continues, that's we're going to be targeting these folks to take these folks out. And then if it continues from that, we'll be targeting the top of this broadening formation. Otherwise, with some corrective activity, because even though this is a hammer, it is a small enough candle where if it could reverse, it would need to break this 14,243, and I would expect it to come down and test this EMA here, this 13,683. But you see, that has been a solid support for a few weeks, and we did this run correct to it, and then we've been running ever since. So, and then remember, we've been talking forever about staying above our 200. A lot of these stocks are still above the 200. So, and you can still use these 8 and 20s or whatever your EMAs are of choice for support and resistance for the most part. These have been acting as a solid support. And I did want to pause for a quick and shout out Jamal, because I had just had a session with him where he kind of sent me down a rabbit hole with some new indicators and learning some things on my chart. And then I wanted to also shout out my girl Shay, who taught me some things about opening gaps and things that she's learning about momentum. And then I had to shout out my boy Jay, also from the STRAT, because he showed me some things with supply and demand and how things move. So I've been learning a lot. I try not to add none of that to this session today because I don't want to confuse y'all. I'm going to keep things to the basics. But I did want to shout those people out. Jamal has 101s. He runs contests on them. You can guess the correct song. You can get a free one-on-one, free hourly one-on-one, y'all. But just tailored to you. And I don't think you, however experienced you are, I'm pretty experienced, and I still learned a lot this week from 3 people. So just wanted to shout that out. But Anyway, you see that this is keeping a nice support. So those will be the targets that you have. You do see here on the daily that there's a gap here that it may want if it does reverse. And then to the upside, we do have a gap still to the upside here at this 14,789. So those could be two places that you can target. Um, if you also see, I hope y'all can't hear my dog. Send me a chat or a message if y'all can hear this dog snoring. But anyway, if you see this area right here, it's kind of a no zone. So we could definitely also chop right here. Um, Especially after having such a strong few weeks, we might need to base for a little while to allow these EMAs to either catch up or reverse and correct down to those EMAs. But overall, we if you notice, regardless of whatever corrections we've had, we've really been in buy the dip mode since we really broke out of this range, because we based for a few months, and then we broke out of the range in February, and we've been in buy the dip mode since. Um, I wouldn't really short it unless it gave you that clear reversal, or at least long term short, unless it gave you that clear reversal. But you can definitely target to those EMAs like I was just explaining. All right, so looking, oh Lord, no, I knew this was gonna happen. I knew I should have closed this damn door. Oh my God. All right, 1 minute, y'all. You- Okay, I'm back. All right, so y'all know I work out of my garage, or I film in my garage, and I have a screen over my garage, but there's this one part of the Velcro is not there, and for some reason, like I think wasps are trying to make a nest in this garage or something. So almost every day there's like 6 wasps that fly in here, and I am deathly afraid of bugs. So I literally have like a broom next to my desk to chase them out and like scream and stuff. So I just closed the garage. So thank you for bearing with my frights over something so small, but things sting. Anyway, looking at the Dow again is still stuck in this range. Now, when we get to IWM next, I'm going to point something out, but the Dow may be consolidating for a really nice breakout and breaking out of this range here to go, target these folks up here. Um, if you look at it on the monthly, we sort of have an inverted head and shoulders that's really supported by that 330 that we have been talking about for the longest. 330 has been a magnet. So we see that it's made a support. And now that it's based, it made this larger inverted head and shoulders, but then we had a shorter term one right here. And it's based. So if it can break out of here and break above this, broadening formation is 350, this may actually fly and do something, because we know that it broke out, and for the most part it's been in this range right here for forever. It broke down a little bit below it, but then came right back up. So this was support, this 338, and then this 330 has now become support. So we want to see if this is going to break 330 to the downside, because you see it based, made 338 support, dropped. Based is making 330 support, which is a lower support. So it could definitely still drop and then do that same repeat move. Or this could be the base for it to boom, because we do have an inverted head and shoulders here on the week. So, and a shorter term one here on the week. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Supported by about 330. And the top is about 345. So looking to see if this can really break through this broadening formation, and the Dow could definitely move to the upside, could also consequently fall. So looking at it on the daily, it's another thing we want to keep in mind. Out of all of the indices, well, most of them, with the exception of IWM, this one is the one that's been staying close to its 200 for the most part, but it's also, again, been doing this consolidation. This is just basically range trading. If you don't know how to trade this range, it's best to stay out of it, because this right here, this inverted head and shoulders, is kind of like a bear trap. So, you're doing this and then you think it's falling and nope, and then now you're caught. So, this is really a range you really want to see it break out of here. Above 345 for some really strong moves. Or if it loses that 330 support and then you start seeing it make 330 a resistance, then it will confirm that this is starting to go down. Because remember, we were saying 338 was the support over here. It's at 338 right now. So that could possibly be a resistance. If it does that, washes below 330, that becomes a resistance. Then you know it's going to continue to the downside. You can target the bottom of this broadening formation. Also, with it being at its 200. If it, for instance, did a 2 up, 2 down, wash back below its 200, lost that 330, that can give you the extra confluence that we're going to the downside. Otherwise, we do have, again, this inverted head and shoulders is on the day as well. So as long as it holds this 200, I would stay bullish, and use that for the momentum to the upside. So we're going to have a long one today because we got a new month starting. So a lot to talk about. IWM. Yay! I have to give claps to IWM because it finally broke out. What I wanted, we have been watching it for the longest, and even though it broke out of the weekly range, if you notice, it's still in this range right here. But again, this could possibly be just a tight range for a bigger breakout to come back up and at least start taking some of these folks out up here. Okay, so looking at it on the 2-week, there's not an actionable signal there, but we are sitting right at our 200 on a lot of different time frames. We also filled that gap finally on the daily, so that is beautiful. See, on the weekly, we are close right above the 200. But it finally broke out of this range. It was having the hardest time breaking 179, really. Tapped 180 a little bit and then finally filled the gap, closed here above it. So it's looking good. And this is the gap that we have been trying to get for the longest. And one thing I do want to point out, if you look at this on Webull, it looks different. If you look at this on Webull, this day filled this gap over here. So I do notice sometimes if you're looking at a different chart, there are discrepancies in the chart. So keep that in mind. But it finally on TradingView filled this gap over here. So there's a lot of range to go to the upside if it can finally hold out of this range. So I'm glad that it held above its 200 on the daily. I would like to see it hold above there and not trade back down into this range. Keep in mind though, it did just make a gap here on the daily. So it could still come down, fill the gap, and then ideally go back into the trend and get out of this mess. But if it didn't, if it does trade back into this range, I honestly wouldn't touch it. This is just really, really choppy. And this is one of those things where you just wait till it has a good trend day. Like this one, like this one, like that one right there. The big bars. That's what you want. Otherwise, these wicks and stuff like that, that's just choppy action. These dojis, these indecision candles, this is really, really messy. The only way to really trade that is just wait until you have a solid trend day and ride that trend. But right now, I really do think that IWM is starting to try to break out. So 186 is even the next, 187.18 will be the next target to the upside. And again, it has triggered the 3-2 up on the monthly. So magnitude for that is about 192-ish. So IWM, now one thing I want to keep in mind is like it hasn't been moving that much, but what you have to keep in mind is that a lot of times when you have this drop base, we may be at the start of this rally. So it could have the strength to rally and come up here to that 192 target, but that probably will need time. ATR is $3. So, I can honestly do it in 4 days, but that have to be 4 green days. But IWM normally doesn't move like that, but because it has broken out, it may have found some buyers and found some strength. So keep this on your radar because it may definitely be having a decent month. The Qs, oh, I thought I removed this. I must have did it on another chart. Just looks just like NASDAQ where, we broke above that monthly broadening formation and we held. So we would target the next one. The next monthly target here is going to be this 369. And the top of that broadening formation would probably be all-time highs if it can get up there. Again, we've just kind of went straight up, so we may need some corrective activity, but the trend is still bullish. They're still buying the dip. There is no actionable signal here on the 2-week or the weekly, but we just have a hammer just like NASDAQ. So the charts really look exactly the same. You got that gap to the downside. Notice that how it's been riding the trend. So it barely breaks below the 20. So that gap may be a strong reach, but it could definitely still do it. It would need to 2 up, 2 down on the day. My first target would be at 347, and then 340. It could possibly go for the gap, but it hasn't really dropped that far since it's been in this uptrend. We do have gaps to the upside. We got this one here at 360.13 that it could want next, and then I think it wants to take these people out here at this 372. And then if it holds that, we can target the top of the broadening formation. Looking at SPY Tisha, as Brittany calls her. So SPY has done the 3-2 up on the month already. So magnitude for that is going to be that 431 that we've been talking about. I think that may be the next strong resistance. And then if you look at the broadening formation, we do still have about 441 that it could get to if it wants to keep going. There's no actionable signal here on the 2-week. It's just strong bullish action. Same thing here on the weekly. You got a hammer off of these moving averages. You can kind of see every time it comes and tests it, it wicks off of it, which just means the bulls are stepping in. Got your daily here. We're still above our 200. You've been with me for a while. It's so interesting because I remember, we were talking last year. This is probably about when I started. No, I think I started doing it about here in August on a regular basis. And we were below, and we talked so much about this, and we're watching it on this 200, got above, washed below, and now it's finally back above. And if you look back, this is the longest that we've been above the 200 and held since we dropped below. Because you can't even count this. This right here, when we dropped and touched it, we came back up and we fell. Came back up, we stayed above, and we fell. So it's really, once we dropped below, we couldn't stay above it. This time we've stayed above it. We've made even a double bottom here, support, and just stayed above it. So all of the signs are giving all bullish. Everything is bullish. It's, again, you have corrective days, but at the most it's been correcting to this 50 before it gets bought up again. And we are definitely making higher, from October, we've been making higher lows on the chart. And now also higher highs, which we know means, usually is a bullish trend. So again, looking for them to take out this 431 here. We don't have any other gaps to target because that's You know, that was the only one at that 430. I mean, this 421. So yeah, looking for them to take out this 431, and then about 440 they can get to, and then these folks up here, 462, if it decides to keep going. Now, I wanted to talk about Apple because, you know, for SPY and Qs and stuff like that to keep going, Apple and Microsoft really have to go. And Apple is, this is really quickly, so close. 182.74, and that's probably like not even 100% accurate. Let's do this. Of course it did it. Oh, 182.94. So this is the outside year target, and we're almost there. So I'm expecting that Apple is going to continue and to at least hit that 182.94. They definitely want them. It stops there that they got to take out. So why is this here? Did I have that there for? Oh, okay. That's the next weekly. If it continues to the upside, that would be the next weekly, 190.52. And then on the month, the next is, if it kept going, it can go up to about 200. So 190 and then 200 will be my two targets to the upside if Apple continues to go. However, again, we've been going straight up, so we definitely need some corrective activity, even if it's only, you know, halfway through the move. But, you know, you want to wait for the charts to tell you that, and they haven't said that in weeks. This is a 2-week chart, and look at that. There's nothing red here. There's no shooter. This is the closest thing you got to a shooter, but then they stepped right back in. So nothing here is showing you that we are going down. Haven't since possibly here, and that was even a fake out. So since January, Apple has been on a tear. Another reason, though, that it definitely needs to correct. So, you know, hopefully it hits this outside year and it has some corrective activity. But those would be the upside targets. Downside, it does have a gap here that I thought it created. Oh, yeah, right there. So I would target that if anything. But notice this pattern going up. You haven't broken below this 200. So to get down here, this 20. To get down here would be, it would have to break the 20 and break the 50. Or at least come and test the 50. And it hasn't done that since here. Granted, again, we are close to the outside year target. So that could be something that it could do. But I would not short Apple until you saw it do something like hit this outside target, come down, retest it, come down and start breaking these EMAs. Let these EMAs turn down, and then you can see it coming down to possibly at least filling this gap and seeing more. But this gap would probably be my correction target before they started buying it up again. Otherwise, you know, this is giving straight uptrend vibes. So that's Apple. Microsoft. Okay, I must have been on another one when I deleted these. Same thing as the Qs for the most part. This, however, has hit its monthly magnitude, that next target. But so we would just target this 345 and this 349 if it wants to keep going. Those, which is basically quarterly targets. Looking at it on the year. I didn't notice this before, y'all. 338.67 is the 212 up on the year for 349.89. So that could be a nice little $10 run. We know it wouldn't take all year to do that. You wouldn't even have to go 6 months out for that $10 run. I would give it some time, just because of the run that Microsoft has been on, or even possibly wait for some type of correction after it triggers. But do know that it is about to trigger the year to the upside, so you may be able to catch the move to take these folks out. And then if it does continue to go after that, it can go up to about 380 if it wants to keep booming. Maybe the AI boom is going to do something. Who knows? But also, again, we have also been going straight up, so some correction is definitely overdue, or at least some type of sideways action in so that it can set up for the next move. So looking at it on the weekly, it's a doji here. It's not really a strong hammer like everything else, but it also has been moving a lot. So again, we may be just having our resting period here before it continues, or rests and then comes and does some correction. But a lot of these are like at the top of where they, well, closer to the high. So it would need like a strong reversal to two down some of these on the week. Like again, you may be able to catch a day trade like this. You notice that, we had a couple of red days. If you got too bearish, oh well, got bought right back up. So keep that in mind. We had this two up. You may have a two up, two down, but don't get too bearish. It may come here and then correct and keep going back up, because that's what it's been doing. It's been respecting this 8 and this 20 for the most part. Kind of sort of touched the 50 here, but any downside targets are going to be these gaps. You got this 316.51 here. This would be a stretch, but it could still, we know it's a target because it's unfilled orders here. This 281.71, but my first target would definitely be this 317.23. And then to the upside, we don't have any more gaps. We would just be looking to take these folks out over here. So that's Microsoft. Meta, I've been kind of screaming about in the Discord, just because we know that it has, everything's been on a tear, and we know that it has this gap here, and this could possibly be Netflix 2.0. We have an entire gap over here to fill at this 316.68. So that's my target for Meta. Of course, first, that's really also about the top of this Broadener formation. Meta did print somewhat of a shooter, so it may correct down to this EMA at least, but this may possibly be a both-way play. But notice that ever since it gapped up, it's respected this 8 so well with corrective activity. So we like to see that. It's still above its 200, so keep that in mind. Yeah, so just keep that on your watch list. Tesla, was it the quarter? Yes, Tesla is about to trigger the quarter to the upside. Now, we know we only have 1 month of quarter left. However, we know that Tesla is a mover. So if Tesla is going to break, I would give it about 220. If it can break, 218 to 220, you can break and hold above there. It's going to trigger the 2 down, 2 up on the quarter. And then the target for that is going to be 257.78. Tesla can definitely do that in a month. That's about, I can't math, about $44. And Tesla's ATR is about 10. So technically, 4 strong green days would give you that move. So keep Tesla in mind that it is triggering to the upside on the on the quarter. Looking at it on the week, you also see kind of this W, I guess. I don't really want to call this a cup and handle because it's not a handle there, but almost an inverted head and shoulders. You got your head here, and it's just an extremely long shoulder that it's finally trying to break out of. So that break, which would be that 220 to the upside, would really help it move. And then I believe there's a gap here on the day. I know I just saw one on the week, but yes, that 262.94 would be a gap filler on the daily. Also notice that it has not only broken above its 200 and held. First of all, it broke above for the first time since here, which was last year. It hasn't been above the 200 since last year. Wow, I must have missed that before. But not only that, this 8 is crossing above the 200, and the other ones are trying to come in. They're pointing up, so it's looking good. It's had several, like the entire week it was green, so it may possibly come down and at least correct to the 200, um, or at least into this 8. But I would watch it to see it make this support on this 200, and then that reversal could really give you that extra confluence to take that monthly, that quarterly swing to the upside. So, watching Tesla. Amazon reached its quarterly target, but could still keep going. So there's something I just wanted to point out. The next quarterly target is way up here at this 146.61. But I kind of like the inverted head and shoulders I'm seeing here. This isn't much of a shoulder area here, but it can definitely still keep going to the upside. 137 would be my first target in the net, taking these folks out here at this 147. And no, I wasn't going to talk about NVIDIA. I was going to these sectors. So we were just going to look at the sectors on the monthly with the broadening formations that I had drawn, and just see kind of where they were at. And XLY, as you can see, has already triggered the month to the upside. It hasn't quite reached its target, but 158.41 will be the upside target. And then if it wants more, top of this broadening, well, I'm sorry, this would be 167, and then top of this broadening formation, 175 to the upside. XLC has also triggered the monthly. Remove this. So it broke above that last broadening formation. And it actually has a lot of magnitude. Have to look at this on a quarter. It didn't trigger anything, but there's a lot of magnitude there. 71.54 for XLC. So you may want to look for your favorite player. If it can break this hard resistance here, this 63.25, 71.54 would be our next. Y'all can see this right there. We got a lot of room. It may need some time, but there's a lot of room there. So I like XLC. XLK, y'all know, is technology. We know that tech has been doing amazing. So, this is off. Let me fix this. Oh no, that's why. I'm gonna take that one off. That's probably on the weekly and not the monthly, because we had these straight down. Inside month so far for tech, but probably looking to take these folks out over here. I think, let me see. Really looking for my next broadening formation. I think this is, nope. So I'm going to move it. Oh, hello. So I'm going to move it over here, because this is going to be my next one. And I color code them so that I know that it's a weekly one and not a monthly. But yeah, so this is kind of where we are in this one. And so taking to the top of this broadening formation would be taking these folks out over here. So it's XLK. I wonder how you looking on the year. Okay, it's still the inside year, but it can definitely 2 down, 2 up on the year. Not much magnitude, but then you would just have to use your broadening formations on that. And then of course that would be following, like if Apple and Microsoft continue to run. XLE we have been for the most part bearish on. So far for the month, it opened up green and decided to move back up, and it has a potential here already for an outside month. I don't have that indicator on, but so y'all can show y'all how to do it real quick. Just fib the previous month. 50% here is 80.71. So 80.71, if it can trigger that and hold, then we can target 85.05 on XLE for the month. Um, you see how it basically found support right here and reversed. So it's also had several down months, so it could definitely still come back up and do a 3. So no actionable signal there. On the week, there is a 2 down, 2 up reversal. However, this is for the most part a chop area. So it could definitely just come right up here and then just stay right in this area. You would like to see it break out of that. Actually, wait, what was that? That's 85 was the target. So that'd be here. So yeah, I would like to see it break above 81. So I know the trigger is 80.59 or something like that. 81 for me. Because it can definitely, we know that 50% triggers are also places to short. So it can definitely come up to that 80 and then get shorted right back down. So we want to keep that in mind. But if it does break above and hold, then we can target that 85. It's looking like they may get shorted though, the way these EMAs are pointing down. Everything is bearish on this. It's really in a downtrend if you zoom out. So let me see, this was not really a hammer. Yeah, let's see on the day. And we're still below our 200. So I have to see what it does. This has been a really strong support, this 76.22. But then we also have gaps to the downside. So keep your eyes on XLE, XLF, inside month. Inside month so far, it's not really doing anything. It's just inside of there. But if it can break above 33.50, it can move to the upside. I think I was looking at Wells Fargo, and I liked how it looked. If it can reverse from here, you might have some decent upside. So watch financials, but as long as they're staying in this area, like, leave it alone. If it can move though, this is actually a rev strat setup. This 1-2 down. So your target is actually going to be this 36.21. So that could be a really decent move if financials can move this month and trigger some of these rev strats, then they may move to the upside. So watch your favorite financial stock. XLUs, utilities, not doing anything at all, basically really stuck in there. XLI, industrials are about to trigger the 2 up, the rev strat on the month at like XLF. So watch it for the rev strat. If it does break above this 101.17 and a hold, then we can target 104.44 or whatever your favorite industrial stock may have that same setup. Also keep in mind, you got a nice shoulder, head, shoulder. If it can really break out and like it can target this, but it can definitely still keep going because it's had its consolidation it's been here in for months. So if it can actually move, then it may move. Maybe check out Jamal's IBD paper or something like that to see if money is flowing into industrials. But if it can definitely break out, it could be a nice move. XLV is not doing anything. I don't like when things are sitting like this and sitting in between the EMAs. So it has a lot to move, but then it could still 2 up on the month there. XLP did the 3-2 down. It's not really anything here, but it has broken below these EMAs. And even though it recovered, we just know that this was a really big bar. So this may be, we knew, if y'all understand Jay, this was a new demand that was created, which is probably why it came back up. But if we look at this right there on the week, we also have a hammer. The only thing is if anything, it's going to two up back into this chop area. So it's really in a consolidation range, and I really wouldn't touch it. It's the real estate sector fund, not really doing much. Inside month again in this chop area. And then XOP is oil and gas, and this has been on this short-term downtrend and has had its rest. So looking to see what it's doing now, because now it's all below its EMAs, so it may continue on this downtrend, or that could have, this could be its little base after its drop. Then we could base and either drop or rally. So finally, I already did XLE. Looking at ZOM on the month is kind of the same thing. So I'm not going to really go into that. But SOXL, now I know a lot of people watch SMH as far as for the semis. I still like SOXL because it's cheaper. And we're going to still continue to watch it because we think that it has so much room to the upside. I believe it's the quarter. Yes. The quarter triggered to the upside and finally hit its target. The next target is way up here at 39.15. So this is really going to depend on the chips still doing their thing for it to move. But that's what I'm expecting. That's the next target I'm looking at to the upside. Before the 39, I would be looking for 28. So 28 and then 39 is what I'm looking for if SOXL is going to continue. I do think that chips are going to get some correction this week, mostly because we had those 2 strong weeks and a lot of them ended like this with this red 2 up. So that's prime for a 2 up, 2 down. So it may not get to the entire target, which would be this 1564, but I would expect it to correct down to, I think 20, and then maybe about 18, this 1841 here. If you look at it on this daily, you got the 3-2 up, possible 2 down reversal for the day. So watch chips on Monday for that corrective activity. And then we do have gaps. We got 2 gaps here on the day. My first target, of course, would be that 1944. So like I was saying about 20, between this 20 and 1944 if it wants that gap. And then it may come down to this 200 and try to fill that gap, which is at 1640. So that's what I would target to the downside. And then I gave y'all the upside targets. I don't think we have any gaps over here. No, it's just upside targets. That one's really small. That doesn't really count. So yeah, it's just those downside targets, and then we have our upside targets, and then remember we're finally above our 200 and holding, far above it and holding. So have to see what it does. AMD is going to look just like SOXL. So honestly, I didn't look at Nvidia. I should. Yep, it's the same thing. Red 2 up. So looking for the 2 up, 2 down correction. And of course, like I was saying, I don't think all of these are going to go their full magnitude, but they could because they have run for a while. And then this almost did an outside week, but didn't finish. So I'm looking honestly for this to finish that next week. 105 will probably be my downside target for AMD. And then, is that this? 109 first, actually, and then 105. Should put us about right here on the day. Yep, that'll be good. It may even come down and correct to this 50, around 100. We'd have to see how everything else is doing. But definitely looking for correction to the upside, to the downside on AMD. And then we do know that if it does not correct and still pushes and does this 3-2 up, then we can target that 133 that we were reaching for before. And then 153, it may come with these folks over here. So, that PMG on AMD was lovely. Like this, that's what this was here, and it really gave it so much more. Like that was really an awesome play there. K-Web, which is China, is having a good month so far. Um, Not really. Well, there is. I think I saw that on Baba as well. You kind of almost got a hammer here, but it's just a basically a two down, a green two down that could lead to a possible two down, two up reversal. And then you have several red weeks here. This is not a prime PMG candidate, but you might find one with your. Let's look at PDD. No. Let's look at JD. No. Maybe on the monthly? Okay, wait. 2, 3, 4. Well, yes, you got a potential PMG on these monthlies here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys. And where Baba just bounced from too. Right about 80. 80 has just been a very strong support. Look here on the monthly, you got this wash below. So this is technically a head. Inverted head and shoulders. This is the shoulder area. On the monthly, we do have a possible rev strat here. If this could rev strat with some volume, you got technically the 5 highs here to take out. If it wants to if China wants to really, really move. I believe it, let me look at it on the quarter. Yeah, it just slightly took out the quarter low, but it didn't have the strength to keep finishing down. So this is actually looking pretty good on the monthly. If it continues the strength and it does a rev strat, your target is 105.18. I'm looking at this right. I am. Your target is 105.18, which is 3 of the targets. That's a nice setup with the rev strat, but also a possible PMG. And then that, if it gets to that, that's good enough. It may even take those 2 out. This may be a good swing, you guys. Baba is back on the top of the watch list because I wasn't messing with it for a while because it was doing this right here, and I was just like, you know what, I can't. I like when Baba does this or when it was doing this, when it's moving straight, this sideways action. So now that it's done this, it's created this little head. We got our shoulder area. If it can break back to the upside, this may be a decent move. But, keep in mind, we are still below our 200. So we will really need to break above this and hold for me to really stay bullish and say, okay, yeah, we might be able to run and move to the upside. So Square. We have been watching Square because I think it was Robin. I'm not sure if you were here, Robin. I believe it was Robin that mentioned Square last week. If it wasn't you, Robin, please let me know. Or whoever it was, please let me know in the chat. But Square we've been watching it because it had a nice rev strat here, which I really like, meaning the target for this is possibly 83.59 on the month. If it has the strength, it has triggered and closed above. So around 63 was the trigger. It just closed barely above it, but keep it on your watch list because that's like a $20 run if Square continues to move. Now, granted, I know that this is still in this range, but if the bulls step in, you can trade that range up to this target. Also, consequently, remember the last time that it did this in this range, it spent a long time here and it finally boomed. I think Square would probably need a reason to really boom because it hasn't done that in months. But it is at a solid support, and it has somewhat built the base. That's what I really like, is the base that it has built. So maybe it can finally break out of this downtrend, or at the very least, you can trade it up to this that 83 and catch that nice $20 move before it drops again. Consequently, if it takes out, it would have to take out 90, or no, really 93. If it takes out that 93, which would hold it above that daily 200, it would break out of this downtrend that is that has been in here. It would actually make a higher high, because you can see here we've been on the weekly, we've somewhat made a higher low. So we would just need to make a higher high to confirm that this is actually reversing. Let me look at them on 2 week. It's nothing there. Ford, I believe. Give me a second. Yes, Ford. I wanted to add this to the homework so that we could watch it. Why? Because of this right here. This thing is wedging. This may take a couple of months to do this. As you can see, it's been wedging on a month. But we know that it wedges for a breakout. So I'm looking to see if Ford is going to have some type of breakout soon, because we know that Ford is cheap. Excuse me. So Ford will have cheap contracts. So if it does a nice breakout and we can get some solid moves like this, or even solid moves like this, then cheap contracts that will actually move. You do have a rev strat here, but the target is still in that range. It's this 13.19. That ain't much, but really needed to break 14.65. Or if you draw, so that's your wedge that is doing for the most part. So yeah, it could still come up here and do this and still be in that wedge, but really wanted to break out of there in one direction or the other, for some solid moves. I would think it would go up, honestly, just because, again, higher low. Yes, higher lows. I had to think about that for a second, and it keeps wicking here. So they're buying it up. They're supporting it. It's just not able to really move out of this area. So we're gonna just keep watching it to see if it moves. Lastly, I got a couple of 2 week setups for you. Remember, we were talking about XLF. We said that the financial sector may be doing something on the monthly. Some of them, I think, had outside month setups. This one is still an inside month, but it does have this possible rev strat. So if XLF does move, and all the players decide to move, then this is a decent move. It would be the 1-2 up. Your target's going to be this 91.46. MS is pretty cheap, so another reason why I like it. And then UPS is the inside, and the candle is small enough where if this does reverse, this may be a nice play to the upside, but there is still room to the downside. I believe with this, where was I looking at? Yeah, time frame continuity is red, but you also have this rev strat on this week. So if this rev strats on the week and goes to the upside, then that could trigger the 2-1-2 on the 2 week to the upside. So I believe that's all I had. I think so. Yes, I have these monthlies. I have not gone through them, to be honest. You know that we will uncouple on Tuesday, so I would like that to happen, honestly, before I really get into what the monthlies have done. But I did show y'all a couple, so that's what I have. I just haven't had a chance to go through the rest of them. And I know my girl Kiki is here. She wanted to talk about some things. So, yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and see what my girl Kiki has.